7-2 on the road trip. The St. Louis Cardinals officially wrapped up their 3-city, 9-game trip, and I don't think any of us would have had them gone 7-2. But even if you did, would you have their the number of runs they lost by collectively in those two losses at just 2 runs? What a surge for the St. Louis Cardinals, who just keep finding ways to win ball games. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. Katie and Bernie here with you to break down what I think has been so far easily the highlight of this season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, before they left, I think everyone was feeling good about kind of the trend and the way they were playing ball. But even though they had started to win a little bit on the road, this 3-city trip, 9 games, 10 days seemed kind of a little bit ominous. What are they going to do? And like when Will Leach and I did Seeing Red on Monday, I said, well, what would you make you happy as a Cardinals fan? He said, follow 5-4. And I said, yeah, I think that's reasonable. Or whatever day we did that. And so I'm thinking, well, if they go 5-4, I don't have any real complaints. So they go 7-2. I mean, so they continue to exceed expectations, and they're sort of passing a lot of tests. There's more to come, like with this homestand. But they're a fun team to watch. A really, really fun team to watch.
7-2, and both of those 2 losses were, they 2-1 ball games, and they were in it up until the last pitch. I know they dropped the game today 2-1 to Kansas City Royals, but they banged out 12 hits, just didn't get the big one with runners in scoring position. That's going to happen. Matthew Liberatore continues to excel all around. We were talking with Oli before the game today, and I asked him, do you have a favorite game of the road trip? And it was hard. We went around the room for us to choose one, and I think mine was Saturday. There is nothing better to me than a 1-0 ball game, because if you're winning a game with 1 run, 2 hits, that means you did everything right. You executed on the little things, and both teams, just a tremendous game Saturday. And it was the first time when I walked into the clubhouse after, it was bumping. It was loud. Guys are celebrating. They're all in good spirits. It's also 8:00 on a Saturday. They just played a 1 hour and 49-minute game. But it was different. And when I was going around talking to players, they all said different things about this is the best we felt all year, or the most, the best team when we've had all year, the most energy. Oli Marmol said it was perfect Cardinal baseball out there. And when you look at the defense that you saw around the diamond, whether it's Victor Scott II, Nolan Arenado, Brendan Donovan, slowly but surely putting together an all-star campaign, I will say.
Oh, yeah.
Mason Wynn, it felt like Cardinal baseball, and it was so enjoyable. Miles Miklasz has done an incredible job turning things around. He has a 2.17 ERA since that Boston blow-up. Gets through the heart of the order in Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, and Salvi Perez for the 3rd time. That's been an area that the Cardinals have been really hesitant to use him around. Kyle Leahy comes out and gets the job done. Ryan Helsley looks so much better. It was just such a good win, and it really fired me up, because if you are a team that can win 1-0 and then win 10-3, 14-7, the way that the Cardinals went through this road trip, they won their baseball games by playing a different brand of baseball, and it's really fun to watch.
Exactly. See, earlier in the season, they would have never won these games. They've won a lot of really close games lately, and they did that a few times on this road trip. And you're right about Saturday night's game, but they never would have had a chance realistically to win these kind of games. And it wasn't that long ago. The bullpen would have just the bullpen would not have been able to provide the security to help you ride out a close game, because the bullpen was getting blown up so many times before it got to Helsley. But once the bullpen, underwent a transformation, and with this extraordinary defense, you can win these games now. And, that's what this road trip was all about. I know that the offense went off big time, in 2 or 3 of the games. But they had to walk a very thin line, as you noted, between victory and defeat. And when you get the kind of starting pitching they did on this, the pitching period, if I did my math correctly, they had a team ERA of 2.16 on this road trip, but the starting pitcher is about 2.43, bullpen 1.52. Roycroft gave up a run today, but come on, it's going to happen. But when you can, they shot a lot of blanks also on the road trip. They had a lot of low scoring games. I'm not being critical, but that's just the way it was. And there were a lot of where they scored 1 run, 2 run, that kind of thing. But yet they were able to win all of these games, even in a time where the offense was kind of inconsistent because of pitching and defense. And I got to tell you, Katie, final thing on that. I try to get, I try to limit myself. I don't want to get into like hyperbole. I really don't. But I can't remember the last time I saw a Cardinals team play that incredible elite level defense in one game. And I go back to, even covering some of those Whitey Herzog teams, and I'm going to leave them out of the discussion because it was a different time, different era, different ballpark. I don't think LaRusse's teams, even though they had good defense, and Schultz teams had good defense, but just for all those incredible plays in a 1-0 game, and pretty much every single one of those plays had to be made. And it was just, you just sat there. I was just sitting there as a fan, and I'm going like, whoa. And it was like one after the other. That was, see, that you're right. That is the kind of baseball that maybe some people don't appreciate that much, but I really do. Where you have to play perfectly, like pretty much in every area, except for you're not going to score a lot of runs, but you got one run, and then everything else had to be perfect. And it was just fun to watch them make all those plays to make it perfect. And
you count on the one run coming from a guy who they really needed to see something from. Jordan Walker gets that. When you're Jordan Walker and you get a fastball location where you did, that is what you should be doing with that pitch. And I thought that was huge for Jordan, huge for the team. Easily my favorite win of the year. And it, just like Oli said, it was perfect Cardinal baseball. And I just really enjoyed it. Nothing better in baseball than a 1-0 ball game. But
in Liberatore, my goodness, we'll probably talk about him. But I just continue to be impressed. I'll leave it at that in case we talk about him some more later.
No, I think the pitching across the board, Palante has been much better. The one that actually needs to get going a little bit is Sonny Gray, and who would have thought that? So
right.
I was just really encouraged by what we saw on the road trip. And I was talking to a couple people within the organization before we left. So DC feels like 1,000 years ago. But before we left for DC, I asked a couple people in the organization, what are you guys? How am I supposed to evaluate you going forward? Are you good? Are you rebuilding? Are you somewhere in the middle? Like, what is a fair baseline to evaluate you? And the consensus was, we don't know yet. But we're going to find out very soon. And after the Kansas City trip, I went up to the same people and I said, so I think you guys might be good. And I was at the same reaction with some laughter and said, like, yeah, we're playing really good baseball here. We're changing the narrative. And for the design of the season to be defined by player opportunity and runway, we talked about this. What happens if some players take that opportunity and succeed and excel? And you're seeing countless Cardinals do that. And that is really encouraging. So we'll get into some of the Cardinals that have been taking flight, no pun intended. And we'll get into some that we haven't seen a lot lately. Some Alec, Burleson, Nolan, Gorman talk on deck. But first, a quick message from Arena Club.
Hey, for the card collectors out there, you need to know about Arena Club. You can check out our showrooms. We've all got cards in there. You can buy, you can sell, you can trade, and you can rip packs. They're called slab packs, Kratz. And then what happens if you don't like what you pulled?
You get an instant offer. But before you get that instant offer, you can show your showroom around, kind of like when I used to put the cards in the sleeves and my buddies would come over and show them. Now, bang, show them on the phone. Instant offers right there if I need it.
Yep, that instant offer is for the estimated fair market value. Accept it on the spot. Acquire the best value for your money with Slab Packs, transparent checklists, and Arena Club's Slab Safe program. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, grading, or ripping packs, Arena Club is the safest, most trusted in the game. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul, code FOUL.
All right, so I'll preface this next segment with the Cardinals faced an unusual just assortment of left-handed starters on this road trip. Off the top of my head, I believe they faced 6 out of 9. So that does explain the lack of playing time for Nolan, Gorman, and Alec Burleson. Another factor that goes in is that Iván Herrera is not only back and healthy, he's ripping. So the Cardinals are going to have every opportunity to keep him in the lineup. And because Pedro Pajes has been doing such a nice job, and Pozo as well, they've said they thought the best way to utilize the playing time with all these lefties is to stick Paz behind the plate and Herrera at DH. This leaves Burleson and Gorman, Burleson more than Gorman are splitty, on the bench. And I feel like up until today, Burleson providing the lone run in Sunday's loss with a solo homer, we hadn't really seen much of them. I'm wondering what Oli Marmol is going to do when the Cardinals get a more regular, if you will, matchups with more right-handed pitching, and how he's going to balance the playing time of Gorman and Burleson and Herrera and Walker. And that is something over the weekend he said he and his staff are still trying to figure out.
Well, I thought, first of all, you made a great point. With all these left-handers, Gorman's wasn't going to play much against those guys unless he was going to be used to go against a couple relievers who are right-handed. But what I thought when I was thinking about it on Sunday morning, I thought, well, Oli will probably try to get Gorman to start because you got a right-hander going. You could play Donovan in left. And you put Gorman at second base. And so that's, Herrera DH. And so Burley would sit this one out. I'm just thinking, this would be, if you're going to get Gorman a game, this would probably be a spot, but no. And by the way, I don't question that. I was just like sort of assuming what he probably would do. And so, but no, I mean, Gorman was on the bench again, and it's a good thing he played Burleson because he provided the only run. So, I was looking at, like even on the road trip, and again, absolute great point about the left-handed pitchers, but it's still kind of weird to see, he started, how many games on the road? He didn't start many. I had a note. Now I can't find it. He just disappeared as the road trip went on. Mm-hmm. He was like the disappearing man. So he appeared in 4 of the 9 games, but he started only 2 of the 9. And overall, he was 1 for 9. And just again, it was, there was no presence whatsoever, even when he did play. And listen, man, I'm not saying that to cheap shot him. It's just true. It's
true. And it's unusual. I completely agree because I get what the Cardinals are doing. Their offense is clicking, and you can't take Herrera out of the lineup. You can't.
No.
He is one of your top bats, and he is that regardless of handedness, regardless of opponent, regardless if he's DH or catching. You need him in there every day.
Can I give you a cute stat that I love? I'm sorry. So before he moved in at DH, their DHs combined through May 8th. That's the day before Herrera came back. Their DHs in 132 at bats this season had 4 runs batted in.
Not good.
He's got 7 in like 20 at bats as a DH.
That's all you can hear, right?
I mean, it's like, no, you can't take him out at DH unless he's got to sit one out because something's bothering him or whatever. I mean, you cannot do it.
No, and they're not going to. They're going to continue playing him. So what does that mean for Walker, who they want to, I think has been swinging the bat a little bit better. We're seeing incremental improvement, better quality of at bats. I'm not saying he's fixed, but you're seeing some progress. And it's always going to be a lengthy process for Jordan Walker. So let's grant ourselves some patience in that regard. You have Gorman, who has been in the same boat as Walker in terms of production and struggle. And then you have Burleson, who really has not seen a consistent playing time at all this season, but he continues to make a difference when he does play. Where are the Cardinals going to draw that line between opportunity and runway, or whatever word you want to use, for Walker and Gorman? Or are they going to focus on 2 other players that are absolutely part of this transition season, just not to the degree of Gorman and Walker? And also need to develop and produce, because Herrera and Burleson are the better producing bats than Gorman and Walker right now.
I would think that of the 2, Walker and Gorman, I would think that if one of them is going to get ticketed to Memphis, it would be Gorman first. And I don't think that's recency bias. I just think that's the way it's trending a little bit. Plus, with Walker, you could even sort of do an unofficial platoon with him and Burleson, because you don't want to start. You can start him against left-handed pitchers, but that's not ideal. But if Gorman goes down to Memphis sometime soon as the odd man out, I mean, I think it does give you it does make it much easier to make the pieces fit. And so if I had to bet my $2 at the betting window, I would say Gorman would go. I just don't know when.
Right.
But it just seems like it's trending that way because he's just not playing left-handers or otherwise. So And the fact that Walker hit that home run, I mean, obviously it was a huge blow for the team, but for him as well. And I just was struck by the reaction shots watching the game on TV in the dugout, and just the look on his face. You could see him like almost exhale. And so you got to give him a chance to build on that now. So here's that word again. That was like a reset moment for him, and see what he does with it.
Yeah, I agree. And to be clear, I don't think the Cardinals are contemplating any roster moves to Memphis right now, but there will be a time, and I'm so fascinated to see what they do here, where they're going to have to choose. But if Gorman and Walker continue to produce, Gorman specifically, if that happens, they're going to have to choose: do we stick to the guys that we identified as the faces of this movement, or do we reward the guys that are playing well? Like Alec Burleson has done a considerable job in understanding that he is going to be the odd man out of playing time. No matter how the Cardinals diced it up, there was going to be somebody who they wanted to get at bats for they were not going to get the at bats for. And that was especially true when Arenado stayed. And Burleson knew it was going to be him as spring went on. And he had a great spring, and with Gorman hurt, he got some consistent playing time in April. But then when Gorman was healthy, they said, hey, we're going to give him the run now. And Burleson could have easily been pissed off or, taken it personally or had that affect him. And in talking to him, he said in years prior, it would have. He goes, but these things work out. And I've done a nice job of staying prepared. And he has. He's done a really nice job of staying mentally locked in, knowing that he is the better bat right now, the more productive bat from the left side, and has done more offensively, yet he's going to get shafted from playing time right now. And he's done a very nice job, at least externally, of wearing that and understanding the situation. And I wonder, what are the Cardinals going to do? Because eventually they're going to have to choose. Do you play the production, or do you keep going with the development and the runway and hope something works?
Well, that's a great question. And it applies to so many areas too, because, you get to the point where if they keep winning and winning, you get the trains moving down the tracks, and are they going to like pause it themselves? Are they going to hit the brakes, pull the emergency brake, and stop the train from going down the tracks? Because it's like, oh, wait a minute, it's a runway season. We can't try to win every game now. We have to make sure we have these guys in the lineup. I mean, on the face of it, it's preposterous. When you have a chance to be like one of these surprises of the season, and so many of your younger guys or unproven guys pitching and hitting are like really leading the charge. At what point do you, and again, I'm asking like a very global question here, but at what point do you, in effect, reward those guys? It's just like, listen, you're doing a great job. You fellas are just carrying us. You're setting the vibe. You're setting the example. You're the energy, the excitement, the entertainment, the competitiveness. So, and listen, I know the teammates support each other. No one's going to resent Nolan Gorman still being here or Walker still being here. Don't get me wrong. And I think everyone's got, better than I do, but everyone's got a great attitude. You pointed out how Burleson's handled. It's perfect. Look at how Miles Michaelis has handled this. Perfect. There's so many. Matt's perfect. So, but at some point, if they keep winning, you can't, the organization itself can't be the one to set up an obstacle that might slow them down.
What organization are we dealing with right now? So,
well, I know what, we don't know who they are. But it's funny. I mean, John Mozeliak has a chance to just, have a really good farewell season. I don't know what that would be if you draw a line in the sand and say, oh, they got to make the playoffs. I don't think necessarily they do, but we'll see. I mean, listen, they were 6 games out on May the 2nd. And even though they lost a game in the standings today, they're 2 games out, and they're starting to play well on the road. Even the pitching's been really, really terrific. If I may say this, the offense, and I'm not being chicken little, but there's some things that concern me just a little, no pun intended. Victor Scott has stopped hitting, and Arenado had some hits today, but he was not having a great road trip. And again, these are small blocks of time. It's not, but I'm just saying, and they got shut down a few times. So I think maybe there is going to be a point if this kind of thing continues, if the offense continues to struggle, they're going to have to make sure they have like bats in the lineup, like maybe make exceptions without losing too much defensive value.
But that brings me, it's a great segue to my next point. And this is something that I talked to Oli about. Does the overall success of the offense right now buy you more time with Walker and Gorman and make it okay to sit them a little bit and be a little bit more patient? I mean, I think it does, but he said he's not looking at it that way. And I understand the Cardinals have been very intentional about what their playing time is and what their plans are. But when you're looking at different guys stepping up and you have Contreras doing Contreras things, Donovan turning into one heck of a hitter in the 3-hole. We mentioned Herrera. Mason Wynn also, I think, kind of going under the radar and what he's been able to do in the 2 spot. Does that give you more time? Are you more comfortable letting Walker and Gorman continue to struggle and hopefully they figure it out because other guys are stepping up? Because I think you and I have the same question. When do you draw that line and make that decision of runway burst results? We talked, it's going to be the question of the season, really. And the Cardinals don't have to answer this right now on May 8th. They probably will have to answer it before the middle of July. But right now, the current pace of play and how the Cardinals are stacking up wins has allowed them a little bit more leeway before they make a decision. And I don't think that, I don't know if that's a situation they were planning to have.
And I for Gorman's sake, and again, I haven't looked at any of the pitching matchups for the homestand, so I'm oblivious to that. But the best thing that can happen to Gorman here soon is that they have a run of games where they do face a lot of right-handed starters, and he starts to put some numbers up. But if you load him up pretty much every time a right-hander's on the mound, and he's still not making any kind of progress, at some point you have to let him regroup in Memphis. I just think because if it's not going to happen where he can regroup up here. And again, I'm like you. I don't have a calendar out. I'm not circling any dates. It's just something you can see and you can watch, and if he's just stressing out and he's just not making any progress. There is going to be a date on the calendar. The Cardinals will choose that, but where it's better for him to play every day, meaning hit every day, than being a guy that's basically keeping Jose Barrera company on the bench. Right.
Yes. Well, I just looked at the Detroit probables. Tigers still have not announced a starter for Monday as of yet. We probably might not. I don't know if there's going to be a game on Monday. Stop me if you've heard this before.
Yeah.
What rain in the forecast?
Yes.
That's Scribble on Tuesday, so I doubt we'll see Gorman there. And then old friend Jack Flaherty makes his first start at Busch Stadium since being traded in 2023 for the rubber match on Wednesday. So we'll see. Should be the Tigers. Talk about a youth movement. They are playing some great baseball. I think the Tigers and the Cardinals really match up well together in terms of how they play. They do a lot of the little things well. They can pitch the ball. They're fun to watch. So I'm excited for this series. Hopefully the rain stays away. One more segment. Let's talk a little bit about Matthew Liberatore and some pitching things that we are seeing. First, though, we need to hear from PXG.
This is a straightforward show, so I'm going to be very straightforward with everyone about PXG. Fastest way to improve your performance on the golf course is to get yourself a PXG golf fitting. Go in there and let the experts help you.
I've been using PXG for a few years now, Scotty. They are perfect. I love the way they feel. They fit them perfectly to my swing. They weighted them. They put grips in them. They put shafts in them. They use their heads, and they fit my swing beautifully. They have definitely improved my game. They just recently hooked me up with their new Allen putter, which is off the chain. I was draining putts the other day, left and right. So I definitely say go get your fitting at PXG. Nobody goes golf the way PXG does.
Yes, and for a limited time, you could save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com/foul. That's pxg.com/FOUL to save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/foul. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Matthew Liberatore, another quality start. He goes 6 innings of 1-run ball against the Royals with no decision. Drops his ERA to 2.92. That's the lowest ERA in the rotation. He is tied with Eric Fetty for the most innings pitched. Outside of a range-shortened start and his start against Philadelphia, he's notched at least 6 innings in all of his starts so far this season. He has a 3.8% walk rate. That is one of the lowest in baseball. I believe he's in the 95th percentile. And he just continues to get better and better with each start. When you're looking at a transition year, I thought this quote, you can read about it in The Athletic tomorrow, from Oli was summed it up perfectly. I asked him why it was important to make sure Liberatore got this opportunity to be in the rotation. And Oli said it would be a disservice to Liberatore and to what the organization was trying to do in 2025 to not see what he could do in the rotation. And he is providing the textbook, the blueprint on a young player having an opportunity and seizing it and seeing what that upside is. He is my favorite starts are Libby starts so far this year.
Well, I'm with you there, very much so. You know, his last, even with the rain, I'm sorry, his start was shortened by the rain out, or not the rain out, but the game in Cincinnati. Gosh, I've been, you know, after surviving a tornado, I'm kind of like on Sunday night, I'm frazzled. So anyway, so forgive me. No, he's been incredible. Like, but his last 7 starts got a 180 ERA, and you mentioned his strikeout walk ratio. It's one of the best by a starting pitcher in baseball, which is why his fielding independent ERA is in the top 7 or 8 of all major league pitchers. So you got that going. He's got that going for him. But the other thing, you know, last 7 starts, like he's allowed 1 home run. He just doesn't give up gopher balls. I mean, he just doesn't. And that, when you're not walking guys, you know, you're not, and he isn't, and you're not letting him take you deep. You know, I'd say 1 home run in 7 starts is pretty good, but not letting him go deep. I mean, you're a really, really good pitcher. And the thing that jumps out at me and you and others is that I think he did build confidence in the reliever role last year. I did. You know, he realized, hey, I can do this, and he was aggressive and he attacked. And you started to see that side of him. But my goodness, this guy now on the mound, you know, with the Royals today, you know, they get a couple of guys on right away and, you know, in an inning or whatever. And, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, he's got this. He'll be all right. Because he's just so confident. It's like he totally believes he can handle any situation. So it's an entirely different guy that way, because he's just loaded with confidence now. There's no self-doubt whatsoever. And he's obviously found ways to get right-handed batters out. His pitch variety is excellent. His pitch sequencing is excellent. He's really, really smart. I mean, it's just amazing how much of a finished product, sorry for the cliche, but how much of a finished product he all of a sudden is, where it all came together just like that, you know? So I hope that he can continue, because he's a great dude. And he's been waiting a long time for this chance. And he's had to have, you know, here years and years of like Randy Rosarina, you know, and that's not fair to him. He didn't make the trade. But I know John Mozeliak said this, and I'll shut up after this. And John Mozeliak, you know, said a couple times, three or 4 times when I talked to him along the way, he's like, it was kind of like, well, you know, I don't think we should judge that trade just yet. I think there's, you know, I think we'll look at it, you know, at some point down the road and feel really good about it. And maybe that was wishful thinking, but I think Mo might turn out to be right. So,
you know, I think you're spot on about Libby's confidence, and it's evident not just from where he was in 24 to 25, but in every start so far. He's only got more and more confident. And in this profile of Libby that comes out tomorrow, again on The Athletic, lots of good information from people that he's super close with. You know, Dusty Blake has said his mindset is he's either going to come into a game and he's going to do something great, or he's going to learn from it. And half the time after things an inning that doesn't go well, or he doesn't execute, before I can even get to him, he's telling me what I was going to tell him. So he's so aware. He's hyper aware. He's so routine oriented. He believes in the process. And he told me, and it was just a really candid interview with Libby, that what he went through in 22 and 23, the up and down, the back and forth, was one of the hardest things that he'd ever experienced in his career. He wouldn't wish on anybody. But he said that experience was invaluable, and he believes that because he went through those things, that's why he's going to be effective as a starter. That's why he believes in himself. He has a completely different mindset than he did 2 years ago. And credit to him for handling that and choosing to take this path and how he approaches it. Credit to the Cardinals for saying, hey, we need to give this, you know, former top prospect, #1 draft pick or first-round draft pick, a legitimate shot, because we haven't so far. We need to see what his upside is and if it plays. And if it plays, all of a sudden we have a starting pitcher in our organization that we didn't know we had. And not only do they have a serviceable starting pitcher, they have, I think, one of the most exciting pitchers coming up in the National League with Libby. And John Mozeliak said, in a season, a spring training based on runway, when the Cardinals were having a staff meeting to figure out what the final spots of their roster were going to be, one of the biggest questions they had was, what are they going to do with Matthew Liberatore? And in a movement pushed by Oli and Dusty and backed by everybody in the room, including Mo, it was Libby needs to start. And Mo said something that was very eye-opening, was we talked about runway, but Libby created his runway. He changed his trajectory in the organization. They wanted to reward him similar to the way they did Victor Scott. I think they're a very good comparison. Victor Scott on the position side, Libby on the pitching side. And we're seeing what happens when you have a player with high upside get the opportunity and know that they're going to perform every single day and run with it. So while as much as we want to see Jordan Walker, Nolan, Gorman figure it out, that Matthew Liberatore and Victor Scott II are doing so, that is so encouraging to me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're the breakout guys so far this season, and there's still hope for some others, but it's really if you don't mind me, this is very much related, okay, to what we're seeing with the Cardinals. My brother who lives in between Baltimore and DC, he's an Orioles fan, as I was growing up. And so we were talking, and he was talking about, I can't believe how bad the Orioles are. I just can't believe how awful they are.
You remind me of the 23 Cardinals.
Yeah, right. And he said, he said, I'm not that guy. You know me. He said, I think they're going to have to fire Hyde. And I said, I think so too. And I know that the general manager failed to build any kind of rotation that matters. I really get that, but there's still a lot of talent on that team. So you and some of our viewers may say, well, why the heck's he talking about the Orioles? Because what I told my brother, and I do watch the Orioles a lot, they have no identity. There's no team personality. When I watch them, okay, like, all right, what's their approach on offense? Like, what are they trying to do? How have they shaped their hitters in terms of like, all right, this is what we do. This is what we want to do. This is our approach. Are they a running team? Are they a power team? Are they a base running team? I mean, who are they? They have no identity, right? None. And so I told my brother this, and I said, contrast that to St. Louis. I said, because all a manager can do is get the best out of what he has. And I told my brother, I said, because he watches the Cardinals too. And I said, think about the Cardinals team. They're the exact opposite of that Baltimore team. This team has an identity. This team, you can count on them to play with very, very high level of energy, very intense competitively, yet there's a joy to their game. They're always smiling. There's a personality. And so I thought the failure of the Orioles and their manager, because I watched both of those teams, it made me appreciate what Oli Marmol and these coaches and these players are doing in St. Louis. They don't have the talent of the Baltimore Orioles. I think maybe pitching-wise they do, but offensively they don't. I mean, the Orioles have all these, after years of drafting first, second, third, fourth, fifth in the draft, there's no way they should be worse than the Cardinals, much worse. I think that's a good reflection on the coaches and the manager here.
And I don't think the coaching staff is getting enough credit because It can be, obviously it's on the players to execute. But when you talk to them lately, the first thing they do is credit the staff for the game prep and the positioning. We talked to Brendan Donovan Saturday night, player of the game. He saved the game defensively. And the first thing he said was, I think I need to go out and say, credit to the staff. They have made sure we are so prepared this season. And when you think about where the Cardinals were heading into the year and the overall vibe of the organization, it could have been so easy to let that seep into the clubhouse and just kind of have that apathy wash over. But those young guys said, hey, you know what? Just because people aren't counting us to play doesn't mean that we can't. We can go out there and we can ball. We can learn some things. And the more a young club bonds like that earlier in the season, the better they're going to get. And I will say, after Saturday night's game, a couple of my friends in the industry texted me and said, are you ready to cover the playoffs this year? And I said, don't put that on me in May. Don't put that on me in May. But who would have thought that would even be in the realm of possibilities to be discussing 6 weeks into the season?
Well, the run differential jumps out at you, really. And the fact that they've had so many wins over teams that right now have a winning record. And now they're starting to win on the road, and they have some depth. They're building some depth in the bullpen, and they even have backup in the rotation if they need it. So, I mean, there's a lot of good things happening now, and we've already learned about this team that they can handle getting knocked down, getting flattened.
Yes.
I mean, before they before April 25th is when they started turning around. I mean, they were 10-15. I mean, the only team worse than the National League was Colorado. The Cardinals and the Pirates had the same record. So that could have been something that would, like, if not crush a young team, could have like really messed them up and made it hard for them to kind of have that immediate bounce back. They do. So in other words, well, what happens if they go through a stretch where they get beat up a little bit? Well, we've already seen that. They handled it really well.
Yes.
They punched back in a very impressive way. So I think they have shown that they know how to deal with stuff when it's not going good at all. And that's something that I have some faith in them to be able to do that throughout the season. But they're going to have some bad phases. Everybody does. But I really, really like watching this team.
And I think it's better to struggle in April and succeed in May than vice versa, because now that you've seen what it looks like and you've seen their ability to rebound, I think it's just easier to buy in. So let's see if these Cards can keep it going. They've done a nice job so far. They're back at Busch Stadium for 6 games, 3 versus Detroit, off day on Thursday, 3 versus the Diamondbacks. Should be 2 very compelling series, weather permitting. Speaking of weather, St. Louis, I know it's been a really brutal weekend, very tough. Just getting back to town about an hour ago and driving through Forest Park or around Forest Park and seeing the destruction around there. If you've been affected, hopefully everything is safe and good in your world. If you've been affected, we're thinking of you. Many different resources available online for those of you who need help or are looking to help. One thing I've learned in my time in St. Louis is this is a community that really comes together in terms of crisis and emergencies. So stick with it. Hug your loved ones, and enjoy this recent stretch of Cardinals baseball because it has been super fun. Bernie and I are going to be back.
In time, I'm sorry, Kate. In times like this too, this is where sports can be really valuable. Can get your mind off your troubles even for 2 or 3 hours a night. So anyway, I think the Cardinals have maybe even over the weekend helped that out a little bit. Maybe that's presumptuous of me to say, but I know going forward they'll be in a position to sort of boost the morale of the community, and they're good citizens that way too. So anyway, yeah, well said by you. I just wanted to add to it. Thank you.
Let's see if they can keep it going, Bernie. I'm excited for it, and I'm interested also to see what the fan turnout looks like now that they're winning ball games. And to be fair, I don't think a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday interleague series with rain in the forecast all 3 days will be a good measurement of attendance. But I think the weather is going to be a little bit better this weekend. D-backs are a good club, so let's see. Let's see if Busch looks a little more full this weekend.
Well, yeah, I was going to joke that, like a couple of the biggest crowds I've seen all year, Cardinals fans, were in Kansas City's ballpark. So maybe bad joke. It was there. I had to take a swing at it. So anyway, no, I hope we'll start to see the Sea of Red reappear.
I hope so too. Be good for baseball, makes for a much more fun summer. For Bernie, I'm Katie. This is Cardinal Territory. We're back with you with 3 more episodes next week. Thank you as always for listening, and stay safe out there.